Bombay and New York are very similar in the sense that both cities are like skyscraper cities. Uh, it feels like both the cities never sleep, they're constantly on the move. People are out from their houses at like 5 in the morning at both these places, and everybody's constantly running around. Contrary to popular opinion, Indians do speak English. A lot of Indians speak very good English actually. Of course, there is a divide between people who live in metros in India and the rural parts of India. People in rural parts speak all kinds of native languages, and there are probably more than 500 dialects. But people in India who live in metros speak very good English. It's actually much easier getting around in India because every 5 steps that you walk, you will be surrounded with 10 people who can give you directions. So you don't need a Google map, you just have people around the streets who can guide you at every point. All you need is a destination address, which actually I think is better than New York, because although New York is a grid, you have these this cross of streets and avenues, and if you have a Google map, you can just look around and get where you are. But sometimes it's just easier knowing that you don't even have to rely on a map. You just need your destination, and there's this sort of like join the dots of people that will just help you reach your final destination. And it's really so much simpler just politely asking somebody, which is so hard to do in New York. It's like all first world countries, developing countries also have big economic divides, and these economic divides they manifest in all forms. One of the biggest forms being infrastructure around cities and infrastructure around rural areas. So what you typically imagine, an Indian scene to be is of no infrastructure, dry roads, no sanitation. Well, that's really not a constant across. That's not a constant across all states in India. There's some states that are tremendously developed where the literacy rate is 99%. Bombay and most other cosmopolitan cities in India are places that you can get an excellent meal for about $2, and it's freshly prepared food. It's got a lot of spices. You're well seated. The restaurants are not crowded, and it's incredibly difficult for someone who comes to New York to find food so expensive, not freshly prepared, and just very bland and not interesting. Entertainment in India is really big, and it's mainly about Hindi movies. Hindi movies are basically very larger than life. They're meant to get you out of your just push you out of stress of your daily stress. You actually, for a lot of Indian movies, you need to switch off completely. You don't need to use your mind at all. uh, there's a lot of song and dance. There's a lot of color. Hindi movies are not based on realism, except for very few. Hindi movies are actually coming out of emerging cinema and this new genre of cinema that is trying to talk about trying to address problems in the social structure. But essentially, Hindi movies are very, very de-stressing. They're very unwinding. There's a lot of song and dance. They're larger than life. They show you these images and they kind of transport you out of your world that you could never imagine. Religion is actually a pretty dominant factor in everyone's lives in India, whether you're in a rural setting or an urban setting. When I was back in Bombay, actually I come from a family that is rather religious. We used to have prayers at home once a week at least, where everybody would sit around a fire and read from a holy book, and it really never felt like it's become a way of life. It kind of reinforces our values and our principles for life. A couple of times, maybe once in 2 or 3 months, people go to temples and they they chant religious songs together, and it's actually like a community event where people come together, they eat, and they sing these songs together, and it's very reinforcing in terms of your values and your beliefs.